Well, hello. My name is Ami Adini, and my company is Ami Adini Environmental Services Incorporated. And I think by now many of you already know me for the unstopping series of of presentations, of PowerPoint presentations that I give. And quite in recent weeks, and not only in recent weeks, quite in I should say, in many years of my practice in this phase one environmental site assessments, every now and then the question comes up is, how much does it cost? How much a phase one environmental site assessment should cost, or how much does it cost? I get questions. Somebody calls me and asks for a quote. It says, how much is a phase one? And in many cases, the person that calls have very little knowledge, or if at all, of what phase one is. And it's hard to explain. It's almost like you call a dentist and you ask them how much for an implant or how much for a crown. And you go to different dentists, I guess you will get different prices. So how much is a crown? How much is an implant? And similarly, it's kind of hard to say what is the cost of the phase one, because this is not, how do they say, this is not a hamburger, a McDonald's hamburger that you buy and you compare it with Wendy's or Burger King. Okay, it's a professional work. Okay, so and phase ones are not all equal. Definitely are not equal. There are some phase one which are very simple and some of them which are extremely complicated. So how much is a phase one? All right. So let me try to answer this question in this presentation. How much does it cost? All right. I've been doing it since, how to say, to make you trust me. I'll tell you that I've been doing phase one since 1988, and I'll tell you later on about my qualifications so as to support whatever assertions or data or information I'm giving you in this presentation. But just to begin with, I'll tell you that I've been doing it since 1988, phase one and phase two environmental site assessments, and I'm considered to be a veteran in this industry. You can check on me on my website, www.amiadini.com. Call me at 323-899-5001, or just email me at amia@amiadini.com. So phase one environmental site assessment report. What is a reasonable cost? And sometimes I quote a certain price, and my what would I call it? My prospective client on the other side of the line, he says, "What? This is too expensive." Or sometimes they say, "Boy, you are so reasonable." So and so. But the question is, what do you compare it with? You know, what is a reasonable cost for a phase one? All right, let's see if we can answer, if we can respond to that. So question number one is, who is the user? Who is the user? Is it the buyer? Is it the seller? Who is ordering the phase one? Because different users have different purposes for doing phase one. And indeed, the professionals amongst us will say, well, okay, you have to do the phase one in accordance with a standard. So all phase ones are equal. They all have to be done in accordance with the standard. But still, there is a difference between buyers and sellers, and to how do I say, how serious you get, how much you need to explain to them, how we always go to the same depths, but when we do the phase one, in our mind, we say, well, okay, what are your, what goals do you have in mind? Or maybe I should put it this way. Dear buyer, what goals do you have in mind? What do you want to do with the property? Dear seller, what goals do you have in mind? And when we do the phase one, and it's being done in accordance with the standard, but still standard, this is not like you cut a piece of wood and you say, I want it to be 20-inch long, and this is my standard, all right? The standard, a professional standard, is not something which is square, which has strict dimensions to it, all right? And so when you have a buyer and the buyer has their own goals, their own objectives, and so you say, okay, what are your concerns? What do you want to do with it? And you're trying to expand whatever is the basis of the common basis, which is the standard, the ASTM standard that we all work on, which can give us a common basis. Then you want to orient it to the needs of your client, whether it is a buyer or a seller. And different buyers have different needs, and different sellers, and sellers have different needs, and sometimes buyers have different needs than the sellers. And this also determines the cost of the phase one. Additionally, who is the reliant party? Is it a lender? Is it the SBA? Then again, you need to know to what degree, in additional to doing it in accordance with the standard, you know if you are dealing with a certain lender or certain SBAs, some of them are more nitpicking than others. And although you can say, look, I've done it in accordance with the standard, but engineers are different, clients, lenders are different, SBA, the people that work with SBA is different. They go to different depths sometimes, and you have to know with whom you are dealing in order to orient your phase one to them. So these are some determination of the cost, the factors that determine the phase one cost. Question number two is I call it risky because it depends on what is your risk tolerance and what depth level of professional diligence is desired by the user. And then again, somebody can say to me, look, Ami, you're working by the ASTM standard, right? This is the standard. Well, the news is that indeed we have standards, but I've been doing it since 1988. And by now, I've done thousands of these reports, and I know how well or to what depth I'm doing them. I've seen hundreds of reports of my colleagues and competitors, and I've seen them, and I can tell you right away that not every professional is going into the same depth and diligence as every other professional. And sometimes I've seen grave mistakes being done, okay, because the amount of diligence that was needed was not exercised. So again, the fact that we have a standard does not mean that every report comes the same out of it. And you need, when you order a phase one from a professional, you really want to know, you really want to understand to what depths of professional diligence you want them to go, okay? Because how many questions you are going to ask. Some of my clients, they will not ask any questions. They will just take it because they don't understand what we do anyway. And some of them, not all. And whatever we put, they will take. And I've seen reports, phase one reports, done to people that don't understand what is written there. And there were some grave consequences to it later on. I'm just right now dealing with a case like this, where a consultant gave a clean bill of health to a property that later, right now, it's heavily contaminated, okay? And so you need and the report says that they did it by the ASTM standard. So the question again is what level of professional diligence you require, okay? And I would say that some clients require a very shallow level of professional diligence, and some of them require very deep. And this is also a determining factor as to what professional you are going to retain to do your phase one. Maybe in allegory, maybe something, it's like if you go to the dentist, I mean, you do a crown, well, maybe not all the crowns are pretty standard, but not all dentists do the same type of work. Maybe you want to check who is your dentist that is going to put the crown, or who is your dentist that is going to do the implant. Not all implants, although all of the dentists are bound by professional standards, I would think that not all implants are equal and not all crowns are equal. And I've had my own crowns that came off at one time or another. Anyway, I think you understand what I mean. So what is a professional diligence? What are the components of professional diligence, all right? So when you are dealing with a professional of any, I would say probably not only environmental professional, an attorney, a doctor, an engineer, a geologist, okay? What are the components of professional diligence? Well, one component is education. Another component is experience. Have they been practicing 1 year, 10 years, 40 years? Experience has something to say in terms of the diligence. What is their level of knowledge? What is their IQ? Well, of course, nobody, you're not going to test your professional. You're not going to give them an IQ test, but sometimes by talking to them, you may get a certain idea of what IQ level they may have. What is their level of integrity? Or maybe you want to ask for some references, for some endorsements. Maybe you want to ask for people that know them to check about their level of integrity, their level of industry, how industrious they are. Do they respond quickly? That comes to the next factor, communication skills. Do you understand when they talk to you? Do you understand them? Or do they load you with the blurbs of words that you don't understand, and they give you all kind of acronyms that you don't know the meaning of, and they sound very haughty and lofty, and they sound extremely professional, but you don't understand a word of what they are telling you, all right? So what is their communication skills? Are they patient? Do they want to, are they ready? Are they willing to explain to you at length every question that you ask of them? And what I call speed of a flow of particles. Particles mean how fast do they respond to your email? You send them an email. How far? An email is a particle, is a particle in the flow of communication. A phone call is a particle in the flow of communication. All right. What is the speed? You call them, you leave the message. How fast do they respond? You text them. How fast they respond? You send them an email. How fast do they respond? This is the speed of flow of particles. And affinity. Affinity is the degree to which, I took it from the internet, the definition, degree to which two things are attracted to each other or share a common bond, okay? Affinity level is how much affinity you feel towards the professional that you are going to retain. How much you are attracted. I'm not talking here about, of course, I'm not talking about sexual attraction here. That belongs in a different department. But how much do you feel that you want to be close to them? That how much do you feel safe when you talk to them? So these are the components, if you wish, of professional diligence that you want to look into when you retain a professional of any kind. And then we talk in orders of magnitude. All right, we have the phase one, and I put it here, and you see in the bottom right-hand corner, the phase one report, and I put here a little dollar sign. Okay, and we'll talk in a moment about the range of cost of the phase one, how much they cost. But as soon as we talk about the range of cost of the phase one, and I put it very little, when you're going to compare it with the liabilities, or on the left-hand side, you see the investment. You are going to invest $20 million in this building, $100 million, or maybe in a commercial property, you're going to invest $1 million or $5 million. You're going to invest. You're talking, your investments usually are in the millions of dollars. All right, real estate investment are not in the range of $1,000 and they're not in the range of $10,000, and they're not in the range of $100,000, you're talking millions of dollars. This is an order of magnitude. Then you have the order of magnitude of contamination. Some contamination cases can go to $1 million, $2 million. You can go to $10 million. So again, order of magnitude, some serious contamination cases can go well over $1 million. And so that's again an order of magnitude compared with the cost of a phase 1 report, which is in a couple of thousands of dollars. So there again, when you talk about the cost of the phase 1, you need to think about orders of magnitude. And in the phase 1s, the purpose of the phase 1 is to find, it's always talking in terms of probabilities, okay? We're finding likelihood. We are finding the likely presence of hazardous substance or petroleum product in, on, or at the subject, so in, on, or at the subject property due to a release or likely release to the environment. This is one of the concerns that we address in a phase 1. We address several other concerns, but look again, and I put it in red, bold letters, likely. In phase 1, we are talking a lot about probabilities that could be there. And probabilities, going back to the previous one, we are talking probabilities. You have, this is not a probability, it's the level of investment. This is not a probability. I mean, you know what you're going to invest, but this little phase 1 that you are investing in, a few $1,000s, are dealing with the probability of contamination that is, again, it's orders of magnitude. So phase 1 are dealing with probabilities. You have to remember that. And one of the definitions, what we are looking in phase 1 by the ASTM standard is on likelihood, on probabilities of presence of hazardous substances. And so then the question is, again, is how likely is likely? How risky is risky? You see, and that what we address in our phase 1 reports. We're talking a lot about likelihoods, about risks, and these are quantities that is hard to put a dollar sign on them. And many times the client asks me, okay, Ami, you did the phase 1 and you said that you are concerned about some contamination. How much will it cost to clean it up? And I say, look, at this moment, I'm only concerned about contamination. I don't even know if you are contaminated. How can I tell you how much will it cost to clean it up? And then we do a phase 2 and we find that the property is contaminated, and they say, well, how much will it cost to clean it up? And we say, wait a minute, right now we know it is contaminated, but we don't know yet the level of contamination. We don't know yet, we don't yet know the magnitude. We don't yet know how deep, how wide it goes, all right? So there is orders of magnitude here again. How likely is likely, how risky is risky. So, and then again, it goes to the risk tolerance of the buyer, seller. What is the risk, or how much risk they are willing to take? All of these components are working inside the price of how much you are willing to pay for a phase 1 report. And now we are coming to the prices, range of cost, okay? And I'm giving you here ranges. You have to remember, these are ranges. And what I see in our industry, so for example, raw land, let's talk raw land, which is anywhere from I would say a couple of acres to maybe 20, 30 acres, 50 acres. The range of phase 1 will be somewhere in the range of maybe $1,500 to $3,000 on raw land. You're talking a commercial property, run-of-the-mill commercial property, 7-Eleven, strip plaza, something. So you will see ranges going from $1,500 to $3,500. 1,500 is a very, very low range. I mean, I personally, you will never find me in this range. This is, I think it's very cheap, but it's, I'm talking here from my personal sentiment, okay? But I'm giving you the range, okay? So the range that I see is commercial property anywhere from 1,500 to 3,500. Manufacturing facilities, there are a lot more risks. There's a lot more to investigate on manufacturing facility. Phase ones I see ranges anywhere from $3,000 to $5,000. Industrial plants are much more complex. I see ranges anywhere from 4,000 to 10,000. So I'm giving you ranges here, but then again, you have to weigh in mind all the other unmeasurable factors that I gave you beforehand. So General George Patton, he was a known risk taker, a very unique individual, character, general. He was known to take risk, but he said, take calculated risks. That is quite different from being rash. So we are not preaching here to being rash. We're saying take calculated risk, and the phase one and phase two is helping you to take calculated risk. In my case, as I said, I was doing it since 1988, and I've done over 3,000 projects of environmental phase one and phase two site assessment. I have characterized contaminated soil and groundwater aquifers. I've done remediation of contaminant plumes through multi-phase extraction processes, in situ chemical oxidation, excavations, and other technologies. I've done a lot of these remediations, and I've designed, I've installed and upgraded and managed dozens of underground storage tank facilities. So I've done a lot, and I present these qualifications to you because I'm proud of them, but at the same time, I'm saying to you that I'm not the only environmental professional out there. There are quite a few environmental professionals out there that I'm proud to be a colleague with. The SBA tells you that all of their environmental reports must be done by environmental professionals. The EPA have Environmental Protection Agency. They have definitions of who or what is an environmental professional. In my case, I've graduated in 1964 in mechanical engineering, additional credits in nuclear and chemical engineering, and worked 20 years in the nuclear and chemical industry, became a general engineering contractor in 1989, and certified for removal of hazardous substances again in 1989, that's a long time ago, and became a registered environmental assessor with the state of California, and they certified me as a project manager who can conduct, that I was qualified to do the most stringent level of environmental registration provided by the state, are qualified to conduct all assessment and investigations, plus issue cleanup opinions, evaluate risk from contamination, and manage the cleanup of contaminated sites. So these are my personal qualifications. And again, as I said, I'm not the only one. I'm very happy to belong to a group of highly qualified environmental professionals, and I'm giving you myself as an example. The proverb says that pearls don't lie on the seashore. If you want one, you must dive for it. So there are certain risks that we take in commercial transactions or real estate transactions, and we are here to help you to take those risks and dive for the pearls. Again, feel free to call me, 323-899-5001. I'll give you my advice free of charge. I'll give you a second opinion free of charge. Send me your report. I'll be very happy to talk to you anytime. Email me at amiadini.com. Thank you very much, and I hope to be communicating to you. Thanks again.